Hi. So my name's Aaron, and I write poetry comics, which are basically a combination of, well, it's not a combination. It's me working on combining two art forms that I really love into one, where the text is poetry and the comic is, of course, comics and drawn in a comic way. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm doing poetry comics. And you can see right here that I'm creating a zine, and this is my very first zine. I've never done it before, so it's all brand new to me. And it's not been too hard. Here on YouTube, there are so many how-to videos on how to create zines. I'm not going to tell you how to do it since this is my first time doing it. But I am going to say that it was not hard to do, considering all the different tutorials that are out there on how one creates zines. So why the art form? Well, I got my bachelor's degree in creative writing, and I attended an MFA program and in creative writing, in poetry. And it was something I truly enjoyed doing. I love writing poetry. And I love drawing comics. It's just combining the two isn't something that's really out there. There are no MFA programs that do that. But I was very fortunate at my MFA program to find someone who was actually doing pretty much that, except she used woodblock. She was one of the professors there. And great person to learn from, and I really enjoyed myself, at my MFA program. It was during the pandemic, so things weren't normal, but whatever. I still had a great time, and I learned so much there. But where that professor had been able to figure out how to combine poetry with visual images in the form of woodblock and other types of print and paper media. It wasn't something I focused on. I was focused on other areas of writing poetry. And it's fine. That's really fine. But now I'm looking at print arts and visual poetry and how to combine the two to make art my way of doing it. And that's the big challenge, is learning how to be creative within your own sphere. And it's been pretty good so far with this zine that you see where I'm folding up. This is a mini zine, by the way. It's a little tiny one. These were all poems I wrote back in the beginning of March and February. And then I built up a buffer to be on my website. And so now I've got basic 2 months worth of poetry built up in a buffer for the sake of art. And so these poems here that are in the zine, they've already published in visual form. And so people can receive them, read them on my blog, basically. And then the reason I created the zine is so that I could send a paper manuscript to people so they can see what I'm up to. Now, this is really important. There's an idea I've heard from multiple sources before, and that's about what poetry is or what comics are. And a comic or a poem is not a comic and a poem when I'm reading it or when I'm writing it, if it's my own work, because it's my own work. It doesn't even really exist in the ethos yet until other people have had a chance to read it. And so then I have to choose the method that I want people to receive my art in, and then they receive my art, and that's when it becomes the poetry comic. Doing it in a zine or a mini zine, that's a very classic way to present poetry and art. Visual poetry, there are lots of other artists who do this exact same thing. And so I wanted to be able to do it as well. And it's great. Now, just a little bit going on here. See this tool? That's a new tool I bought, that stapler. It's a long arm stapler. It's this thing. I'm excited about this. It's the only thing I bought for this project is this stapler. I had seen them when I was in the Army, back in the 1980s. And I was like, what the crap am I ever going to use that thing for? And of course, I never did. And then suddenly I started seeing people use them for creating their zines. So I said, oh, all right, I can buy them. They're cheap. Cost $14 through Walmart on walmart.com. And it's a great item. It got here in a week. And I used it to put my zine together. You can't really do a zine without a stapler, except the mini zines, of course. You can do those without a stapler. And then right here are the first 6 envelopes that I'm going to use. One of them, this one's right here, a copyright envelope. So that's where I can put, make sure my copyright will be secure. And then these ones I'm sending to friends and family. People that, that I was like, all right, they probably won't mind being surprised to receive, a zine from me. Wouldn't be a shock at all. And here I'm going to show you some of the comics that go with the zine. I do have one portrait. It's from one of my favorite poets. It's Seamus Heaney. He's a great Irish poet and Nobel laureate. So great guy to read. And then these are just short little poems. They're if you see them on X or on Blue Sky, and I prefer writing on Blue Sky, they're under the hashtag micropoetry. And it's a really little cool niche to be in for writing poetry, because everything has to fit in that little window. This is my folder binder. I'm putting all the stuff in. I'm taking out it. I used this in grad school, and I'm removing all the stuff. Going like, oh, I don't need this crap anymore. Anyway, so this is where I'm going to keep my master copies of my zine. Anyway, it's a very cool project. Thanks for hanging out with me. You have a very nice day.